Well, it's interesting to see how schools have evolved in their planning and design over the decades. Anywhere from Soldan School back in the early 1920s to what we're doing today, what our firm's design has changed dramatically. So when we talk about the 21st century school, it has all kinds of new components to it. It has technology. It has changes in how different types of curriculum and instructional programs and hands-on learning and on. We go on with that. So it's really about creating an environment for learning, different learning styles and teaching approaches and so on. But the safe school is one that has now emerged as really at the forefront. And I'm going to go through some images, and these are going to be posted on the live feed for the audience. This happens to be a school in Illinois, a high school, and what you see there is protecting the entrance. There was about 5-6 years ago where a woman, I guess, passed out at the steering wheel and drove into a classroom and killed a student. So all of a sudden that sensitivity throughout the community was very large. But that has also continued on to really protecting someone with a car that would decide to drive through the front of the school. I know they do it for gas stations and hardware stores. Why not a school? So this is an example of showing what is a series of concrete letters that are embedded in reinforcing bars that a car will not get through that. So that's entirely possible. Also, there's a welcome center, which is a vestibule that's secured that keeps intruders out. One of the other items I'd like to mention is an age-appropriate safe room. This happens to be a safe room that's in between two regular classrooms. In essence, this is an early childhood center where we're trying to do two things: improve the learning environment in the classroom to get the coats and the book bags out of the classroom and provide another wall for the teacher to teach with marker boards and smart boards and tax spaces. So all this is in a separate room. That room happens to be a concrete box, if you will. If you've ever seen a box cover out there, it is concrete sides, the bottom, sides, and top. And if you can see the door at the end, it's latched in 3 locations. So not only is it a safe room where kids can go to in the case of an intruder into the school, but if there's severe weather, which we haven't talked about here, rather than waiting for FEMA and get funding, which may or may not occur anytime soon, since everyone is competing for the funding, you can implement this today. It's very affordable, and the construction industry knows how to build these kinds of places. So what I found interesting is the reason it's age appropriate is kids don't go into their room just because of an intruder. They go into it 3 or 4 times a day to get their gloves, to go outside and play, to get their book bag, whatever it is. So they're always going in and out. And the feedback I get from staff is when it's time to go into that room, rather than having 5-year-olds go down the hall 8 classrooms to a gym that is supposed to be safe, which you probably won't get there in time, they go right into that room. So I just wanted to share that. It's all about age appropriateness, and one solution does not fit all, as I see in 21st century schools.
Devin?
Yes.
I actually just had the opportunity to visit this school on an actual tour, and I would highly recommend, if you have trips or anything, this early childhood center. What you don't see in this picture is this was when it was first built. This is now full of color. So there's posters, and this is their locker room, and so this actually wedges between 2 kindergarten rooms, and so those kindergarten rooms literally filter into that. And the superintendent, his name is Rick Johnston. If anyone wants to write that down, he loves to actually go in, but it literally will close in and lock in, and those kids don't know, right, that they are now in a protected, safe environment. It's an amazingly safe feeling. And so if you guys are looking for different alternatives, this is an amazing school to go visit. And when you walk into those rooms, you have no idea that that's actually a safe room. And I think we can give no better gift to that small child than safety and security, and they just really knocked it out of the ballpark on that. So I really encourage you to take a trip, if you could, here in Central Illinois, to see this school district.
You know, I talked to Rick just a few days ago, and you know, when you're used to a certain school of safety, you don't know how safe it is until you compare it to a school that's not perceived as safe. So what Rick did, he had a safety and security drill where he brought over the staff from another school that will eventually be moving into this building as part of an expansion. And the feedback that Rick shared with me was that the staff of the other school was just so surprised at with the feeling of this school, because it's a feeling that you're in control. There is an actual path to get to a safe zone quickly, within steps. So it's really interesting as the designs of safe schools continue to develop. They're quite special. You know, it's really a special place to be in an improved learning environment, which is really what we set out to do. Dr. Simpson, yes?
If I could just comment a second on that. First of all, that goes right along with our philosophy at the Center for Education Safety about, first of all, where you can have dual usage, just things, a shelter for a tornado. It's also a place for an active shooter, things like that. But the other really point I want to make is that we need to take a holistic, balanced approach to school safety. We spent most of our time talking about active shooters, but we haven't talked about weather-related events. We get into a lot of schools doing school safety assessments, and we use a vulnerability hazards assessment process that was pioneered in the Homeland Security program, looking at all your vulnerabilities, active shooter, bombings, arson, stuff like that. And when we, in all the schools that we've been in so far where we've done that process, and we have input looking at historical occurrences and probabilities and things like that, while active shooter is usually on a scale of 1 to 5 down there around 1.82, the weather-related events, the tornadoes, things like that are always up there 3.5, 3.8, going on 4, things like that. So we got to stay focused on taking a balanced approach to it. We can't just focus only on securing the exterior, the doors. We got to worry about things like where do we shelter our kids if we have a tornado.
Okay, that's a good point. Yeah.
Now in Illinois, this or something like it is required in all new school construction. You have to have a storm shelter.
I might add that traditionally the classroom is the safe haven, and what I understand happened at Sandy Hook was that in order to lock the door, the classroom door, you had to go outside in the hallway. Not a safe way of doing it. So on our break, we have security door hardware out in the lobby that you can look at, which is lockable from the inside. And of course, tempered glass looking into the classroom and some safety film on that, all aimed at really having the teacher have a safe place to go and lock it. This just takes it one step further and makes it age appropriate. Dr. Simpson can probably speak on this one. This is a secure playground because it's inside, if you will, surrounded by the building itself. We can secure buildings all day long, and we'll talk about some of these ideas. But a lot of times, the site plan is developed where the playground is off to the side. Might have a fence, chain link fence, may not. Well, you know, that's where you're really weak. And this is an area that provides total safety for those kids.
Yes, this is our Lindbergh Early Childhood Center, one of them. We have two. But we wanted safety to be paramount in this building. And for that, it's shaped like a horseshoe. And so the classrooms all have doors, individual classroom doors that exit into the play area, which is the center of the building. And in the back of the horseshoe is a large metal fence, and it's also maybe 10 feet off the ground, so it's not at ground level in the back. And it's been a great success. Parents really like it, students really like it, and it's a good way to do a building. It's a good way for the young children to keep everything in play. And then, of course, parents coming to the front of the building go through all the security there of the double doors, and they have to be buzzed in. And so it's been a big success.
I'm going to use the concept of welcome center. Does everyone know what that means? That's another way of calling a secured vestibule, or in police terms, a sally port, to keep people out and let them get checked in. One of the things that is sometimes not safe is is the walls when you go into the actual reception area. Someone gets buzzed in, or someone follows the person that just got buzzed in. And this was taken 3 days ago when the weather was, I think it was about 32. Very cold. Very cold. This is ballistic test, and as you came in our lobby, you saw these same 3 panels. And what we're showing here is an officer of the tactical team for St. Louis County, that we had 3 wall panels, typical that you'd find in front of a receptionist, that the first one to the left was just the typical 5/8 inch drywall with bad insulation, which you see in all schools. And every bullet that was shot, a 38, a 9mm, and the rest went right through. Not a surprise. The next wall was the same thing, but filled with sand. And to our surprise, all the ammunition went through those walls as well. But the last wall, we went to the hardware store and got rock that you would have around your house and filled that with rock. And none of the ammunition went through that wall, penetrated. It's out there, you could go look at it, except for the shotgun. The shotgun did penetrate it. But it was pretty interesting. I asked the officer, I said, how often do you think an intruder with a shooter would have a shotgun? He says, at least what he shared with me was, it's not as frequent that they would have a shotgun as opposed to a pistol or any control rifle. Yeah. So anyway, I thought that was very interesting, and the reason for sharing this is everybody's looking for practical ways to harden their school. And for the schools that are already constructed, you're not going to tear it down, tear out this section and rebuild it. So you can actually pour into these walls some rock. Now, I would advise before doing that to go get your own test. But this was the test that we did, and it just said that there's some promise to that kind of technology. And it's interesting when we're designing a school and we're having what we call programming meetings with all the staff. It's the receptionist that is the most fearful, because they're at the front door and all this planning sounds good, but they're still saying, protect me because I'm the first one that is confronted.